the table now, I have a sneaking suspicion that it's goblins. Okay, all right.
Oh. Was that what you were going to say?
Yeah, so I in the pregame show, I alluded to Jarvis playing a certain deck that most people don't really associate him with, and it is this deck, Goblins. He has told me a number of times that, like Goblin Lackey is actually in contention for one of his favorite cards. This is a deck that he used to play way back when for a long time. And not a lot of people know about that this guy is just secretly a mountain lover. Phil, give me the rundown on this deck and what it is trying to do.
So while most of you are probably familiar with Death and Taxes as an Ether Vial deck, Goblins is a way better Ether Vial deck. Goblins uses Ether Vial or Goblin Lackey to cheat an absolutely absurd amount of mana over the course of a game. A lot of people think Goblins, and they think like standard decks of past, where Goblins was really sort of a very aggressive deck. This is really a mid-range grindy deck. And your core engines are actually in Goblin Matron, which lets you tutor for all of your Goblin friends, and then Goblin Ringleader, which is arguably the best draw spell in Legacy. A slightly awkward one, but one of the most powerful ones.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple new additions to the Goblin deck that I think I'm happy it's in the Legacy format. We're looking at, number one is Goblin Trashmaster, which is interesting. I think it's an upgrade to Tuk Tuk Scrapper, just as a lord that also kills. A lord that also kills the whatchamacallit's artifacts. And then obviously Standard's Greatest Menace, Goblin Chain Whirler, making a nice addition to the deck as something you can tutor up with Matron. And then I also want to point out one thing, or two things actually. The first is you'll notice that there's only one copy of Goblin Pile Driver. I spoke with Jarvis about this, and he says secretly the card is not as good as it used to be. Just Legacy has evolved as a format, and it just kind of sucks. But having the option for one is good. And then the second thing I want to point out is look at the number of lands he's playing. Now, a lot of the lists that we've seen recently play roughly 21, 22 lands, but you can see Jarvis here is playing 23 to 24, right? 13 and 11 or whatever. I can't add numbers together. And, I quote Jarvis saying that he thinks it's maniacal that people are playing less than that many lands in a deck with 4 drops and 5 drops.
I 100% agree. Recently, I've even ticked up the number of lands that I'm playing in D&T. And actually on that line, Jarvis has really respected his mana because he's playing Skirk Prospector as well.
Yeah, I like that. So I don't know if you guys can see what's on my screen, but it's basically Mike just like highlighting one of the cards in sideboard and drawing like a smiley next to it. And
From the Ashes.
Mamma Mia, that card is spice. All right, I am excited about it. And you know what? I think he's replacing a Blood Moon with a copy of From the Ashes, which makes sense, for the 11 basic land deck to play. I hope.
Anurag, could you tell chat what From the Ashes does, just in case they haven't hovered over the Cardboard.live extension to see what it does?
From the Ashes says destroy. I believe. Let's just use this extension to read it off the top. Destroy all non-basic lands, and then for each land destroyed this way, its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle libraries, yada yada yada. So this seems like a very one-sided Armageddon, and that's exactly the kind of card that I am in love with. How do you feel about this match? Who do you think is favored to win?
All right, I'm 3 for 3 so far, right?
Yeah, you are. Okay, yeah.
Well, then to continue my correction my streak of winning predictions, I'm going to say Jarvis takes this one down. I think that the Death Shadow deck is largely attacking on the ground, and Jarvis is going to have approximately 77 chump blockers at any given time. So I think in the hands that don't start with a Delver, the board is just going to get so clogged up, and Jarvis will be able to just keep the ground locked that he's just going to be able to go through this. Additionally, Michael pressuring his own life total is very dangerous in the early game against goblins. they can go ham when things go their way.
Yeah. All right, well, let's dive into the first game and take a look at both players' 7-card hands. How do you feel about Jarvis's hand?
It is not good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it is bad enough to mulligan. So on the Goblin side, you really want to see either an Aether Vial or a Goblin Lackey in the opener.
Okay.
But like Rishadan as a bridge is fine. I think mulliganing can pay high dividends. Looking at Michael's hand on the other side, his hand is pretty average, and he doesn't really want to ponder on turn 1 since he doesn't know what shenanigans Jarvis is up to.
Right, these are shenanigans. Turn 1, Cavern on Goblin, Skirk Prospector. Okay, so it looks like we're saving our Aether Vials from potential dazes. In fact, the Stubborn Denial in Michael's hand is looking a little bit sad right now. But let's see how this works out. So, I mean, this is a pretty dead giveaway about what Jarvis is playing. But a Ponder...
I don't know how much I love Skirk Prospector on turn 1. Like, I understand that, like, whatever you do isn't getting countered, and that matters. But, like, you have the second Aether Vial, and Vial is stupid in the Goblins deck. Like, the ability to go, like, all right, I Vial in my Matron. I get a Ringleader. Tick up Vial. Vial in Ringleader. Mm-hmm. I think I value getting Vials up as quickly as possible. And, like, what's he going to do this turn? Like, play, Vial into War Marshal, or, like, Vial and Wasteland. Like, we could have had Vial in play, tap Skirk Prospector this turn, potentially. I don't know. I can understand not playing a Vial on 1, but I think the upside of a Vial on 1 resolving is huge, especially when you get, like, the mulligan and try again on the following turn.
Yeah, I mean, the way I piece it together, I just think he's trying to play around days and, like, Stubborn Denial as best as he can. Like, I really like that sequencing that he just did there too, where he played the Vial without playing the Wasteland first, just to sort of see if Bonde is up to date on his Goblin literature. I mean, it's an onboard answer to days anyways, but, like, just try and get him while we can, because whatever it is. But Aether Vial is going to stick here. The problem is, Jarvis really does need a follow-up. Maybe we can find a Matron or a Ringleader off the top that we can put into play in a couple turns.
So there's currently no pressure on the board. And when there's no pressure or very little pressure, just giving Goblins time to draw into Matron or Ringleader or one of the random bullets seems fine.
And... okay, well, I mean, this isn't too bad. We can Vial in the Skirk Prospector next turn, or just play it now, and then we can cast the Ringleader the turn after that. But, like, right now, the Death Shadow is the biggest creature on the board, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be turning sideways soon. So let's see what that Brainstorm finds Michael Bonde here. Looks like a Gurmag,
It looks like we have a handful of threats, and... ooh, no way to shuffle, though, so that Stubborn Denial is going to keep hanging out.
Right.
So, of note, Jarvis will have the option to just use the Skirk Prospectors as Lotus Petal to play a Ringleader on his turn. I don't necessarily know that that's the best use of that card, given the rest of the board, since there is some opposing pressure now.
Ooh, and look at that, Snuff Out. He's going to deal 4 more points of damage to Jarvis than he originally anticipated for. And this is getting kind of tricky because Wasteland's going to turn off the Cavern. Oh, man, I'm not really sure. Oh, okay, never. Yeah. And we're playing a second Death Shadow. So this is kind of a stomp, actually.
This is rough.
Yeah, I mean, Jarvis will probably he has to chump block this turn. I don't know what he can draw. Maybe, like, Matron into something else, like a Matron into War Marshal for the next turn.
Yeah, there's a Sting Scourger as well in the list.
Okay. Well, doesn't really matter. Jarvis is going to go ahead and concede this game, and let's take a look at the sideboards and see how each player prepares for the sideboard games. post-board games.
All right, so why don't we look at the Goblins deck here? The mana denial option is an option, right? So like Blood Moon and From the Ashes can be cripplingly powerful cards against Delver, but they are slow.
Okay.
Pyrokinesis can remove a couple of the early game threats, like the Delvers specifically, but they don't really do a lot of work against Death Shadow and Gurmag necessarily, so I don't really expect to see those coming in. Honestly, I don't think Jarvis is going to sideboard very much.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it looks like he sideboarded almost nothing. I don't know if I actually saw a card come in back and forth. Maybe he sideboarded in a bunch of lands. But just really quickly overlooking what Bonde did for his sideboard, he did cut Force of Wills, he did cut Dazes, and he did board in Hymn to Torok, Bitter Blossom, and I think Thoughtseize as well. So we're looking at, the Delver player attempting to play like a very fair, grindy, value-oriented game and just like try and stomp the Goblins player with the biggest creatures on the board. Jarvis is going to mulligan again, and it doesn't look like Bonde's hand is actually that great. There's a lot of lands, but we have a Brainstorm, so it's like,
I don't really think either one of these hands is particularly stellar. So like Jarvis has this Gem Palm Incinerator, which is normally early removal, but here it's just like, I'm going to draw a different card for no value.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of fine. Like, I mean, you want to get going. This Blood Moon looks really spicy on the next turn, but fortunately, Bonde has drawn a Daze to sort of protect himself from that. I actually, if I'm playing against Goblins, I really have no idea what to expect from the sideboard, but I mean, if I thought about it a lot, maybe I would conclude Blood Moon.
So actually, I did a little bit of research on Goblins when I did a stream for them. The Goblins sideboard is actually not anywhere near stock. The way a Goblin sideboard is built is you pick a couple of your bad matchups that you want to shore up, and most of your sideboard goes towards shoring up those specific matchups. So I don't think you can actually expect these are the Goblins card sideboards.
Gotcha. And looks like Jarvis is going to just say, YOLO, let's go ham. Blood Moon into your Daze, and if you have it, you have it. Spoiler, Michael has it. But, I mean, making him bounce a land here is kind of big. I mean, Bonde's kind of on the back foot with a Bitter Blossom in play. Like, Bitter Blossom is nice because it'll muddle up the combat math, but I don't know, like...
All we need to see is something like a Matron for Chain Whirler or something like that, and many turns worth of Bitter Blossom can be undone. Similarly, Goblin Sharpshooter is devastating.
Okay. Yeah, the Chain Whirler sounds pretty hot. Let's see if Bonde shuffles that. Okay, so he kept the Ponder, so he has a Thoughtseize, and he's going to fire that off now.
Rip, Jarvis.
Yeah, probably taking away the Ringleader. And now Jarvis is left with the somewhat underwhelming hand, but Matron off the top is a great draw here.
Yeah. So I think he plays Wasteland out, casts Matron, gets a card of his choice. It can be either the Chain Whirler, or it can just be another source of card advantage, like a Ringleader, and then he can fire off the Wasteland if he wants.
Right, and you know what?
But he has chosen not to do so.
Okay, yeah, so I think here he's going to say, I want to use this Wasteland as a mana source. I'm just going to run you over. And I also like getting you keeping the Wasteland because, I mean, look at Jarvis. Now I think his game plan is let's just play around Daze because it's free to do so. Next turn we can play the Mountain and then play Ringleader through Daze. And then we can Wasteland you after that.
So Jarvis, in holding up the red source, represents like a Pyroblast or a Tarfire. But if his opponent has a Wasteland, then like the Wasteland on the Wasteland actually occurs.
Yeah.
So note that this is probably a strategic choice to like bluff misinformation on Jarvis's end.
Right. Can Pyrokinesis target players? I'm going to look that up real quick.
I do not believe that it can. I believe it is creatures.
Yep, any number of target creatures. Okay, cool. So we can't just dome someone to the face with it. That'd be pretty sweet. But Ringleader going to enter play.
Best draw spell in Legacy!
Can you say gas? And Skirt Prospector is actually
God,
really
can we
good
do anything broken with this? Please tell me we can.
Oh, man.
Maybe not this turn.
But next turn, I mean, if there's like a Siege Gang or anything like that, that would be super sweet. Yeah, this is, I mean, yeah, we just swarm the board with goblins, and we could even use one of the incinerators to get rid of a Death Shadow, barring like a Street Wraith or, you know, a Snuff Out or something like that, maybe? I don't know. This is, so given how bad Jarvis's hand was a couple turns ago, right now this game looks a lot closer than I actually anticipated it being, which is go goblins, I guess.
So when I played a couple of leagues with goblins, I was very surprised at how much one top deck pushes this deck ahead. Because a lot of times when you're playing a deck like D&T, one top deck is a very good bear card. But in Goblins, like with the ability to tutor and just draw so many cards off things like Goblin Ringleader, or even just like cycle Gem Palm Incinerator, draw into a second card, so many of your top decks are extremely powerful and swingy.
Yep. Ooh, and now this is so risky. I see you're looking at Bonde's like, do I want it? Nah, do I want it? And we're going to go ahead and leave behind the ground blocker, playing around maybe a Chain Whirler or something like that. I like that.
So this turn is going to be stupid.
Did he just top deck a Mog War Marshal?
He did, which is really good with the Skirk Prospector.
That is really good with the Skirk Prospector. Jarvis, this is a PG-rated stream. I don't understand why you would do this. Man has a family. Do you know that? Oh my gosh.
Okay.
And so Bonde with no cards in hand means that Jarvis doesn't have to play around days or fours or anything like that.
He's free to just do stupid stuff. So an Incinerator can be cycled.
All right, so it looks like we're just setting up for a super wombo turn, maybe. What do you think the Ratchet Bomb is trying to kill here? The 3 drops? Because that seems really, really slow.
If I were him, oh god, no, blowing it at 1 isn't good, because with the new flip rules, blowing it at 1 gets Shadow and Delver.
Yeah, so that's not a thing.
But maybe you need to do that out of respect for what Skirk Prospector can do. But that's what I would say after seeing Jarvis's hand.
Yeah,
I don't know that's a conclusion he would come to on his own.
I completely forgot. There's also a pressing matter, a ticking time bomb. That Bitter Blossom is going to kill Lampalot if he doesn't find a way to end the game fast enough. And it's kind of tricky because Jarvis just has so many blockers in you know, on the ground that Death Shadow probably not going to connect. At some point, these Bitter Blossom tokens have to turn sideways, but it's like such a delicate balance because, I mean, you have to have blockers.
All right. So note that Mog War Marshal is like a super sweet ritual right now at any time because it can be cast for 1 red. It creates a goblin. You can sack the Mog War Marshal. It creates another goblin. So Mog War Marshal is red Dark Ritual.
Who would have thought? Mono Red Storm, let's go. But they have haste. We can cycle this Gem Palm Incinerator, kill a Bitter Blossom token maybe, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4 blockers. We can connect with. Okay, maybe that's not good enough. But you know, Mog War Marshal just blocks for days. So, and then if he pops the Ratchet Bomb on 2 here. Doesn't really get that much value, to be honest, but at this position, I don't even think we want value. We just want to not die, which is, I mean, never a good position to be in if you're...
This is a very tenuous position.
Yeah.
And, like, if you crack the Ratchet Bomb to blow up your Bitter Blossom, you're not actually taking out anything that matters here.
Right. And also, let's keep in mind, like, Jarvis draws 1 relevant spell. Like if he draws a Matron, that's Tarfire. If he draws Siege Gang, that's lethal probably, I'm going to assume. This is... Yeah, I mean, this Diabolic Edict also just kind of looks a little embarrassing.
Yeah. So I really like the end of turn cycling. It doesn't matter, you know, the token can just die. He's just trying to dig for anything that matters.
Right, well, killing the token does matter because you just put the 1/1 into play, swing with a bunch of dudes, and then there's only so many blockers.
Oh, yeah. So this Goblin Lackey's going to have haste. The Goblin Incinerator can go and destroy another creature.
I mean, there's no point to it. I guess it's okay not to attack. It's not like the Bitter Blossom tokens are going to do anything. Basically, it's like a pincer bind where Jarvis wins if he doesn't attack and wins if Bonde attacks. So looks like it's just like a win-win situation. This Wasteland we knew was on top of his deck. Actually, he may have been determined. Bonde may have been deterministically dead early on because of that brainstorm early. The earlier brainstorm, you know, locked him with the Diabolic Edict and the Wasteland. But here, I guess we kind of just have to see like a YOLO sort of situation. Because I don't really know how Bonde is supposed to win this without attacking. Like, you only need to chump one.
Yeah, so he's got to potentially like force some chump blocks here. This one's free though, but then the Diabolic Edict does get another body off the table.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of interestingly, the Skirk Prospector could have sacrificed both of those creatures there to cycle without tapping those lands.
Yeah. How many goblins did he have in play? Was it possible to... Okay, well, never mind. There you go.
Well, let's just do gross things.
Yeah. Matron into...
Which way would you like to eat this apple?
How many Tarfires does this deck play anyways? Like 1, 2, any? I don't remember if I saw any. 0? Okay, I don't think he actually has any Tarfires in his list, but that's a concession without seeing the Tarfire, so I'm going to assume that maybe Michael assumed that there was a Tarfire in there and then like that was going to kill him, but even if there wasn't, like it's basically over. Okay, we get it.
Well, even just like Chain Whirler wipes the board and then you get the Alpha Strike.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So
it looks like no changes going into game 3. Unsure. But, I mean, it was so fast that I have to imagine maybe only one card got changed here or there. Bitter Blossom was kind of... it was okay. I wasn't, like, particularly impressed by it, but I also wasn't, like... It wasn't, like, that bad. But I don't think it solved the problem of getting Bonde ahead. Looking at both hands for game 3, though, Bonde is going to start off with a turn 1 Thoughtseize, followed by a potential turn 2 Himbatorok or Bitter Blossom. What are we looking at from Jarvis's side?
So Jarvis gets the uncounterable Lackey to start things off, which is incredibly dangerous. Over the next 2 turns, that will allow him to dump in a Matron to get whatever he would like to put in with the next Lackey connection.
Okay. Ooh.
Fatal Push. Peace.
Let's talk top decks. That was a very good one.
So this is interesting. He can just get his own Goblin Lackey to block and then hold up Fatal Push for if something goes wrong. This can actually set up a massive blowout if Jarvis was to go for something like Gem Palm Incinerator on your Goblin Lackey.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just a random upside. Doesn't Gem Palm Incinerator also count your opponent's goblins as well? I don't know if that's a percentage point that will matter or not.
Ooh, I need to check that.
Yeah, the number of goblins in play, but I don't think it's going to be relevant. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Before I go crazy, Bonde doesn't have any goblins in his deck, does he?
No.
Okay, just making sure. Just making sure. How hilarious would that be, right? Just like put in a whatever goblin Was it Earwig Squad or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, Earwig Squad, the one that does like a weird surgical extraction type impression. Right. I forget what that effect's actually called.
So here we have Jester's Cap. Is that what it was?
Yeah, where you go and pull 3 cards out of their library and you make your opponent sad.
Yikes. So Goblin Matron going to come down uncounterably on turn 3 for Samwise GG. Let's see what he tries to find here. This is one situation where I'm going to say props to Jarvis in game 2, and I get game 2 is where it was really, really apparent. But like he just has so many mana sources that he never really felt like hindered, despite getting constantly wasteland, despite constantly having so many expensive spells to cast. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. He is matching up a Chain Whirler here. And now we're doing the do I attack, do I not attack dance.
Yeah, this is 1 point of damage. There's no goblins on the other side. This does not matter.
I'm going to say that reanimate on Goblin Lackey was kind of strange. I mean, Bonde did have the Fatal Push as an answer, and I don't feel like doing 1 point of damage a turn. Like, if you're going to Fatal Push the guy, why? Maybe there's another reason that I'm missing. That sounds like the most coherent story that I'm just not seeing something. But Goblin Matron number 2. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
He did have the second Reanimate. Mm-hmm. So I can understand wanting to use the first one extremely aggressively. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh. Whoa.
Wow. Slow clap. Everyone, please. That is what I am talking about. That is legacy right there.
That's why we're here, right?
Let's be honest.
People with their own cards is doing these awesome, sweet plays.
And we found 3 goblins off the ringleader. That is so basically Jarvis just shrugs it off, doesn't care, continues to draw cards, crush face. Who do you think is favored in this situation?
I'm not sure. So Gem Palm Incinerator can take the opposing Chain Whirler off the table. Mm-hmm. Michael is at 7. He's putting in a huge number of creatures, though. Oh, wow. So I think it really matters, like, what this draw off of the Gem Palm Incinerator is.
Okay. Also, interestingly enough, right now, if we play the Mog War Marshal, so now it actually does become relevant that it counts both sides, because that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goblins, which would actually kill the Death Shadow, right? I mean, we're cycling first, but that's fine too. Let's see what we draw here, though. I do agree that, Basic Mountain, not the hottest draw. But we're sort of in that same situation, that same limbo where there's like a Bitter Blossom ticking down, and now Jarvis, Bonde is going to have to balance killing Jarvis with not dying. Being at 12 life is a lot easier or better for Bonde than being at 19 life. But let's see.
The miss on the Delver flip hurts.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's definitely not the end of the world. Like the Mog War Marshal and its Goblin Token friends stop this Death Shadow from being relevant. So it's just the flyers off Bitter Blossom that really matter.
But Gurmag Angler off the top.
That's very good. But like a Goblin Sharpshooter with haste, for example, would just tear this game right open.
Or a Ringleader, why not?
Here we go. Spin the wheels. Oh, that one only dropped 2 cards. Oh, wait, but one of them draws even more cards.
All right, this is starting to get pretty filthy. This is what I'm talking about, right? Like, look at how much mana Jarvis has in play, and look how he's able to seamlessly cast all his cards. Super impressed by.
Oh, that's a rough one.
Deck construction. Okay, fine. Well, we're gonna miss at some point, right? We can't always run hot, but who knows? Secretly, Skirk Prospector might just be the nuts. Doesn't Chieftain give everyone +1/+1?
And haste. Can we potentially just present lethal here by playing that if we sack 3 goblins. So what if we got rid of these 3 tokens, then put this in play?
I'll leave the combat math to you.
So, yeah, okay. So we can pay 1 less for that because of the other lord that's already in play.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4 of these are blockable. Yeah, we're just donezo, right?
Yeah, that looks like lethal to me. I mean, I'm sure Jarvis is doing the math in his head. 7 minus 4 is 3 times 2 is 6. I guess Bonde could have stayed alive 1 more turn if he just dazed for no value. Then, you know, Jarvis would have to sacrifice another goblin to pay for it. But is what it is. And goblins beats Death Shadow in match 4 of Bonde versus Jarvis. That was super exciting. Phil, you're 4 for 4 now. Teach me the skill of how to predict like winners.
All right, but
yeah,
you're gonna have to meditate under a waterfall with me and chant about how good D&T is.
Oh God, I'm out. Get me out of here. So let's see. So in review, I'm going to be completely honest. I thought Blue Black Shadow was going to win. The starts for Bonde looked so powerful, right? Like Thought sees you, take away your relevant action, him to Torak you, do this, do that to you. Play a big dude, play another big dude. I've got Bitter Blossom to block for days. Really, though, I think the downside is just like the fundamental nature of the deck, where you just take so much damage to yourself, and Goblins is all about, you know, finding more dudes, putting them into play, and then just turning sideways, and that actually just worked both times. Maybe Goblins is secretly really good against Blue Black Shadow, and nobody knows. Yeah, that was pretty exciting.
So post Deathrite Shaman banning, I do think Goblins went from just like trash tier to a solid, you know,
Trash Master tier. Sorry, I had to. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next and final match of this best of 5.